So all we know, there has been positive feedback for the Thunderbolts film that came out just a while ago, barely 2 weeks, and we've had from mixed to positive, positive critiques of it. And I, for one, have to follow with the positives. I feel like Thunderbolts initially knew what it was as a film. The characters came up from irrelevant. Crimson Guardian stole the show for me. I gradually loved Yelena a lot more than... I gotta say, I like Yelena a bit more than the original Black Widow. Respectfully. Out of her lackadaisical personality, how laid back she can gradually be while showing the humanizing way of her personality, more than Natalia, the original Black Widow that we know her, in trying to use day-to-day dialogue that she has, co-inspiring with her taking over more of these jobs to kind of cope over how she is in her identity crisis, knowing the passing of her sister, and building over for herself. And they kind of foreshadowed originally around the promotion. Yeah, New Avengers, everybody, just so you know. What the fuck? I felt like that kind of took the purpose off, and Marvel films been doing this a lot. Like, the key part of why people were even going to watch the Captain America film, just to see Red Hulk, just for him to be Thunderbolt Thurman, and just see a minuscule fight scene with very little depth, and the leader to be so underwhelming as a villain. And you have great actors portraying these villains that could possibly be built over arc-wise, and them to be just barely let's see at least 25 minutes of screen time, just for them to be what feels to be a side plot. That's what kind of kills me over. At least you get to know who's the reoccurring antagonist over majority of the film. That I felt was at least a step above the right direction. For Valentina, that was played by Julia Louise Dreyfus. Valentina was one of the key politicians that was pushing over the initiative for building her own super soldier or her own superhuman. Beyond that, and over the development over the century, trying to build her own initiative with these underground science experiments that fell off until caught over by the government, that she had to kind of have several of the main characters of the film, of the Thunderbolts, from the new Captain America over John Walker, Ghost, that's Ava Starr, or Yelena, come over, tie up over the loose ends until her and Bob, or the Century, foreshadowed over later, that he can also sink into your inner memories and rewind back your biggest traumatic memories. That was insane. That was at least basic development, and how they co-conspired to kind of get a revenge over on Valentina is very surprising. And not really surprising, but you kind of knew, tying over in the loose ends, science experiment going haywire, how's a politician going to clear that up while keeping everybody underground, while Bucky Barnes, that's a politician now, and divvied himself learning further into the secretary of Valentina to help out. I swear, I think I saw her. Her name is May. I think she played some of a girl from one of the last Spider-Man films, or she didn't. But she looks really familiar. Just tall as well. And the most we've seen of Bucky, other than the scene that they spoiled over, that I wish film stopped doing. I understand it's promoted to hype the film, but a bit more teasers into the mythos of the film does it more justice than just fucking underwhelmingly just promoting, just underwhelmingly just giving me the hype pieces to watch it. Like, we know Marvel films come with action, or else kids won't be watching. But besides that, yeah, I thought Bucky played over his part. We were knowing, like, around the Thunderbolts film that I felt like was heavily more promoted than the Captain America Brave New World film. It showed that he was going to be more, like, involved into pieces than just show that he's going to be kept under a bit more involvement over in the government. And, like, he was trying to display to May, like, yeah, you know, I've been in your position where I felt like I had somebody under my thumb, and I'm trying to do better while getting more inside. So that's what he was trying to build over, and then he just comes over just being part of the Thunderbolts due to a reference to, don't know if it's fake or not, but Yelena was part of a Little League soccer team, and that's the whole point of it. That's the whole point of the joke. She got it from, and Alexei kind of ran with it. And he wanted to get buff to be the Red Guardian, but no, they just had him as the fat comedic relief. I'm so glad they killed off the female Taskmaster as well. I felt like that was the most irrelevant of the characters in the Black Widow film that nobody's gonna ask for. That I felt like, oh yeah, well, Thunderbolts was supposed to be like a more darker Suicide Squad, and nobody really fucks with the Black Widow. I mean, no, but not Black Widow. Nobody really messes with the new Taskmaster. And the master, the person that can copy many of your favorite heroes' abilities and master them a bit better, can go one-on-one with Spider-Man and dies off a ricochet. Awesome. And gets stolen. Gets her shit stolen. Awesome. Love it. I love it. We love it. After trying to escape the death trap with the now cooked Taskmaster, and while Valentina had some of her militia pull over and tried to execute the remainder of her loose ends, Bob actually rescues them while being stalling for them to escape while under camouflage. And then it comes over to him getting getting persecuted and showing that he's bulletproof, can fly, and the power of light. I felt like his transition more into the Sentry should have been more of a build-up over his subconscious. I felt like that was a lot of stuff left over in the table, knowing his ability. He reached over Walker's memories, Yelena's memories, and going more over to the trauma of either than him losing his memory. They could have done more flashbacks, and I heard they had to cut over a bunch of editing scenes that I guess came over to some creative difficulty or just time constraints, because films try to still stick over to a budget because there's still time invested into this. So that's the only problem that I guess that they had. Other than that, I felt like the film was decently paced until the final third. We go over to Yelena talking to the Red Guardian while Red Guardian was sticking over to old ties, confessing over his former life, having regrets, trying to see if you can do more if you wish you were more, and him opening over about him feeling pride that he was actually being dependable and being useful was a big at least point over in the film, finding self-worth amongst yourself. So I felt like this is something that Marvel films could strive to do, but I wish they would pace themselves a bit over better and flesh out more. That I felt like even the series on Disney Plus failed to get right. I'm not even hearing positives what's going on over in the Daredevil film that I feel like is getting 50-50 reviews on certain points. And transitioning down after colliding with more of the militia when some of the groups still try to escape until Alexei finds them over in the middle of the desert, and Bucky comes to help him until he keeps him captive. while now knowing the truth about Bob and the Sentry, they try to stop Valentina, not even knowing like how really screwed they are, because they're just regular super soldiers, super spies, or just science experiments with Ghost is just Tracer. Ghost is just Tracer, folks. And just I'm joking. But other than that, it was a decent enough fight scene to just see how tank Sentry is. And my first time seeing him was in the Dark Avengers comic. I remember reading that when I was still in middle school. And he was OP as all hell. So the Sentry is not just a code name. It's literally his subconscious. It's a split personality. So you'll get to see more, especially around the film, fighting over his inner self and letting him take over. That's his own personality of the Sentry, feeding over Bob with his own like mental constraints, knowing that he has trauma and addiction problems. And the Sentry trying to overtake that and cloud the world with it. But I wish like we could have got more build up about him finding more evil in the world and him feeling like everybody's problems could be handled with me, and him pushing over more into the God complex other than the blonde jokes. Because I felt like just a flash out of him just overtaking everything could be built up a lot well. I felt like it was the same pacing problems that we had with Gore from Love and Thunder. And that could have been handled a lot better. But I felt like this was a fun movie. It ended with him. It ended with a massive fight scene going back into his past, with everybody joining in and going straight over the eclipse. He can do that to almost every living organism that got a bunch of helicopters. Not that much destruction, but everybody was getting overtaken over the eclipse. Even a funny scene that already got spoiled over on Twitter. X. Sorry, I'm still getting used to it. With Red Guardian saving a girl from a falling debris. Saving her, and then immediately she gets poofed. The funniest part of the film, completely spoiled for me. And then everybody just being like, "Oh, how can we be heroes? We're all pieces of shit." Until we all gang together after the fake Captain America pulls up over and completely like helps them while everybody's pushing down over the boulder, and now they get applauded. Oh, and now the Sentry's the bad guy, even though he was supposed to be the favorite hero. And until like Bob finally like pulls away, holding himself back after they find the Sentry in his subconscious, pushing him back, and learning that all he needs is some love, some compassion in his life that Yelena develops just out of plot contrivance, even though we know like what shit she was going through, how she went over like her little midlife crisis in her 30s. Talk like I like the conversations that she has with Alexis. Like one of the favorite parts of the film. Their dialogue together was crazy. I loved it. Very somewhat relatable, but somewhat still in her world. I love it. Even like her introduction into the film was crazy, even though certain parts of the scene it felt like, bitch, you just want to try different hairstyles? Like, but I loved it. Even John Walker, I felt like, was like obviously a pseudo asshole where he's still trying to be the compatriot that he thinks he is, but shows that he's a flawed douche. So many of the characters were somewhat enjoyable, except probably Ghost. Ghost did have some cool parts, but I felt like she was kind of in there. Ghost, other than her abilities, I feel like didn't feel as fleshed out as even though she was part of the Black Widow film. But I feel like even John Walker feels a bit more established than even mainstays that already have like 5+ movies involved with him, while we only know him because of Captain America and the Winter Soldier. That's all we know him from. So, them getting grouped together and finally picking up where they left off after helping Bob and Bob feeling like he lost all his memory was all a ploy over for Valentina, just a point favor, and now to regroup over the group over the new Avengers. That was actually why the asterisk was there. For spoilers, yeah, that's practically it. But I think everybody picked that up. Thanks, they referenced over the president's, the Red Hulk's planning, talking over to Sam Wilson from the first movie. So yes, they conspire over and at least keep this continuous from the Captain America: Brave New World. So there you have it. And it ends with Yelena saying that they owe him. And then we get our 2 post-credit scenes. That, of course, you get one that goes over what happened before. And, of course, the new Avengers jokes involving the Red Guardian making matching uniforms. While the Fantastic Four, that's movies coming around July. That's the most anticipated movie. I don't know if that's really a game breaker for the following year over the Marvel films, because I felt like this was a good 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10 film. Enjoyable, but somewhat rushed in the final end. And I guess you can go without watching it, just to be more anticipated, because I know more people are going to be more excited to see Fantastic Four after Fan 4 Stick has been the running joke over the past decade. So I would say, if you have time, go watch it. Go watch it. If it comes over on Disney Plus, if you have it, or stream it any other way, or when it comes over in physical copy. But this is not something that's completely terrible. I would say the weakest Marvel film to come out this year is Captain America: Brave New World so far. But besides that, I'd recommend this. Characters are fun, the action's fun, story basic enough to get behind, and it felt like it has an identity with at least something to foreshadowing before we get into Doomsday, that people are still like very 50-50 on the expectations, knowing the casting changes and complete direction change after a lot of controversy over the past 2 years. I don't know how much people could still be patient about it, even me, because sometimes I feel like the post-credit scenes can be somewhat tired up. Like, that's something I'm expecting. And it's something so exciting, you know the pattern. And that's the sad part. That's it for me over in the DC Show. Like, comment, and subscribe for more. If you guys enjoyed this review, you'd like more stuff over in the channel that doesn't involve always like wrestling, sports, you guys want to talk about films, action, nerd shit, do not mind. We could talk about probably animated series coming out soon. That's it for me for the DC Show. Enjoy the rest of your week.